course, today we have Matthew, we have Lynda, we have Mariette. So this is going to be a great show today. We look forward to having all of you here, and we know you're going to learn a lot today. So, and as I joke with them, this is one of those shows where I just kind of show up and fold my arms and sit back. I'm not going to leave though. I will hang out. But anyways, thank you very much for coming to our August desktop time. We know everybody's got a lot going on these days with school starting and kids are at home or they're going to school or just all kinds of things going on around our world and our country. So really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to join us. We hope that you're going to find the content to be very useful in your practice and talking about onboarding clients and some other things. So as always, you probably remember we are sponsored by this thing called Q-Box. These are our newest shirts. Yeah, people that wore a Q-Box shirt. Oh, and he's even got the bottle. Now that's a classic. So anyways, we're sponsored by Q-Box, but we don't spend the hour talking about them. So we appreciate you knowing about us. But again, this is desktop time, which again, the format is really designed to help those people that, and all of our experts here today, everybody works with some SaaS, some hosted, but we just want you to be aware that there is still an opportunity to work with desktop. There's different resources available to you, and this crazy thing called Q-Box can help you work remotely if you want to, but check it out later. I'm not going to talk about it. So anyways, thank you very much again for joining us. I am going to read their bios, which I know is always very embarrassing for the guest speakers. There's Mariette. So in fact, I'll start with Mariette. So Mariette, of course, EA is, and Mariette, what does EA stand for?
Enrolled agent.
Got it.
Yeah.
He's a small business educator and accounting tax advisor who has served the entrepreneurial community for over 2 decades. Over the past 6 years, Mariette has transitioned from a day-to-day practitioner to a full-time educator on a mission to educate and equip small business financial professionals with the financial and business literacy they require to impact small business financial success. She shares her knowledge and training through joyful learning experiences that include live experiences, high-energy social challenges, online courses, and signature coaching programs. Connect with our energy, and again, we'll have information to reach all 3 of our esteemed guests today. We'll send out by email. We also have Lynda Artesani. I didn't forget you, Matthew. We have Lynda, who's the president of Artesani Bookkeeping, where she uses her expertise and organizational skills to help her small business clients grow their firms, thrive, and become profitable. Her specialty is actually working with attorneys. Lynda is currently on the Intuit Trainer Writer Network, is an alumni member of the Intuit Advisory Council. Additionally, she's the first expert columnist for the QB Community Forum. She also co-admins a Facebook group to help other business owners with QuickBooks, marketing apps, workflow challenges, and much more. The group is called QB Community Live, which I think you 2 know about. Originally from Rhode Island, which I think she's up that way now, Lynda relocated to Estero, Florida, where they have alligators and crocodiles, one of the 2. She's a registered...
Not in my bio. Not to get my bio.
Okay. No. I think I just added that. It's impromptu. So she moved to Florida. She registered yoga teacher and teaches 2 classes per week. Connect with Lynda on Facebook or Twitter. And again, we'll have their contact information for you. And last but definitely not least, my good buddy Matthew, who's co-founder and CTO of Parkway Business Solutions, where he uses his passion for technology to create time-saving tools for accountants, parentheses, vendor sync, and bookkeeping solutions to fit the needs of the modern small business owner. As the co-creator of QB Community Live, I think we mentioned that earlier, these guys are definitely involved. Matthew dedicates time helping his fellow community members, dedicated to the belief that together we all succeed. It's a good motto like that. When he's not working, you'll find Matthew walking his dogs Silas and Sophie on the beach in Ventura, California, 805, where it's always another beautiful day in paradise. Connect with Matthew on Facebook or Twitter. Again, we'll have their contact information later. So anyways, so at least this side, we're all Californians, and then
Rhode Island right now, which is kind of weird, but yeah.
Yeah, so Lynda's the one, like, outlier of the group, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. We still love ours.
You guys need balance. I'm your balance.
Yeah, and Lynda is definitely our balance, by the way. Like yoga, she keeps us there.
That's right.
Oh, really quick, before we start, there are all kinds of chatter about shirts. So does anyone win a shirt or gain a shirt after today if they stay to the end, something fun like that? I'm putting a little pressure on Chris, but I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. You know what? I always say this, and trust me, folks, just send me an email with your name and address, and you will get a new, and this is the newest version of Q-Box shirt. This was
I don't even have that yet.
This year that haven't happened, so
You have to
Would love
stay
for you to-
to the end till you get a shirt.
Yeah,
They have
stay to the
Yeah,
end.
wait, you have to stay till the end, and then you'll get a
And you
shirt.
have to hear the keyword we're going to say at the end. We're literally going to say a keyword. So there's 3 things he needs. The keyword, your name, and your email. Done.
Right.
And you got it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so you got it. And we got all kinds of stuff, but we definitely will send you a shirt. Make sure you help us out with your size too. And Allison taught me this. If you have an office, in other words, you want a bunch of shirts, we just want a picture. We want a picture of your office order.
What can I have, like my kids in the picture because they're part of my
Absolutely.
team? Would that count? Okay, good.
That would definitely count. So yeah, we have this time we're only mediums to double XL, so just let us know what size between that you'd like. So anyways, without any further ado, I'm going to turn the show over to the experts who are going to talk to us again about using technology, onboarding clients, and I think we're going to have a demo of 17 hats also at some point here. So take it away.
Thank you. We're going to do a bit of an indirect demo of 17 hats, not just to show the purpose of it. So the intention of today's talk is to discuss how do we do the best onboarding. And Chris, you're going to have to come back because you're going to be involved in this. When we're onboarding new clients, exactly, you know better than that. When we're onboarding new clients, we all do these things. We're always trying to put together these processes to try to make it easier for ourselves and save ourselves time. But we've got to make sure that we're taking a look at it from the client's perspective as well, right? And we thought we should talk about that a little bit more and making sure how can you develop an onboarding process for your clients to where it's something that's efficient, exciting, and easy for them and help save you time in the long run. As we talked about it, Lynda has done a phenomenal job using 17 hats. It happens to be actually all 3 of us use the app as well, but Lynda's done an amazing job with her practice working with law firms on using touch points to extend the amount of time you have when you're just getting a project going. So
that sounds so much better than me saying I'm buying time and telling people like that, oh yeah, I can start next week. And then it's like, I got like 2-week lag time with all my little chain of emails that goes out. Yeah.
So first, I guess I'd love to ask both you and Mariette a little bit about how do you traditionally set up your onboarding process? Tell us a little bit about it. Like what do you take in consideration when you're doing that?
Yeah, I love the question, and definitely, Chris, don't be going away because I'm going to keep on fishing you back out. By the way, don't be doing that, okay? So, and I just want to let everybody know, I see so many fun people, by the way, in the chat. I always like to pull up the chat and let them know we see you, we hear you. We are a super interactive group, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I want to let you know. Like, if you're just sitting there quiet in the back, that is no fun, number one. Number two, you can learn so much in this webinar, actually. We decided to cover something that we know will apply really to our entire community, accountants, bookkeepers, tax professionals, and really anybody that's in the professional service industry. So please tap into that. I just want to make sure you all do that, because just sitting back and relaxing, that's cool. But by the way, you're going to see this in a YouTube video later on. So you can watch replays all day long. Ask questions. That's really big to stay interactive. Okay, so now to answer Matt's question. Honestly, this is just really interesting. And everyone that knows me, I like to call it AIBM, as if by magic, when we cover a topic that was like really close to my heart, or maybe I just taught it. Well, I have a bookkeepers boot camp that I am doing right now. We just covered client onboarding yesterday. So like, talk about how close this topic is to what I was just teaching 30 people yesterday, 30 passionate bookkeepers. So, the first thing when we were talking about it is that we pulled ourselves back and we really took the perspective of what does the client need? Like, we know we're going to create a process that's going to be, optimized and efficient and productive on both ends, but let's figure out first what that client needs in that process, and then let's build around that strategy. There's a client, I think we're going to use example, maybe one client that's super simple. Let's say a super simple self-employed service client of mine, customer. They'll have maybe just 5-6 steps in their onboarding process. If I have a client that's in retail or e-commerce, right, they're going to have maybe 20 steps in that onboarding process. So the first thing you really need to do is pull back, especially if you're starting from scratch, because I know many of you may be starting from scratch, and just really KISS, keep it super simple and say, what does the client need? Let me write that down. And what's going to happen is, as you start building off of the simpler clients, when you graduate to the larger clients and the more complex clients, which is I hope that's how you're doing it, right? Then you're going to notice it's probably the same 6 steps plus more. And essentially that's kind of how you develop the onboarding process in my case.
So Lynda, what I thought I would do right now is kind of at least dive into, we put together a very basic presentation we can share with everybody, and then we'll dive into like the product itself. And that way you can kind of talk us through some of the steps that you're doing. And then Chris, what I was going to do is I feel that maybe this is obviously a little bit of a different perspective, but you with a company, you're always onboarding accountants, right? So I'd love to hear what your perspective was when you were designing the onboarding process from for QBox. Like what did you take into consideration?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's interesting because they all come to us with their own strategies and what they think onboarding is. And so honestly, my preference is always to say, okay, let's really assess your operation and let's make it, implement it to best complement the way you're doing business. Sadly, it doesn't usually happen that way. So we have people that just dive in and then we get a call a month later and they're frustrated and they went kind of down one path. And thankfully we have great folks here and we can kind of help straighten them out and get them back on the right path. But it's always beneficial to us when we're able to help them out early on. So that's why I'm a huge process guy, and I really appreciate what you guys are all talking about today. If they really kind of thought through what their ultimate objective was before they just dove in, it saves you a lot of pain and anguish, I think, later on. So, and really, I mean, pain and anguish equates to money and time. I mean, that's just the way it is. So I'm always big on wanting them to say, okay, let's take a breath, let's take a step back. What are you really trying to achieve here? And if we can do that, it's fantastic. It makes the whole experience for them much more positive. When they don't, yeah, we still get those calls and we still help them, but sometimes it's a little more challenging. By then they brought in the IT guy and they're, they're kind of, recreating the Titanic. And so again, we still do help them out, but my gosh, they save themselves a lot of pain and anguish if they have an initiating process.
So I'll jump over to our presentation here, and what we were doing is basically, Lynda, like we talked about before this, we were talking about there's a couple different aspects when you're going to set up an onboarding process. So onboarding is all about communication, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, don't forget now I have a niche business, which makes this process a lot easier because I'm repeating the same steps, same apps, same everything. My team does the same work. It's a lot easier when you do a niche. Coming from someone who's a generalist for a very long time, so I had multiple different things that may have been somewhat the same stack, but you had to do it. This is like locked in. And the one I think we're going to show is a migration client, somebody coming off of a platform, coming into my preferred platform. So basically, yeah, the client life cycle starts with the phone call, right? Or the lead sheet, and then becomes a conversation. And from there, it will come into these steps that are here. So we use you as the customer.
Yep. And what we were doing is everybody will be able to download get a copy of this PDF, because we wanted to be able to kind of show what the different steps are. You will have to set up some of the language yourself, but we grabbed screenshots of all of that to where you could try to use it and maybe get you the core foundation to build off of, if that helps you, is the whole goal. So obviously it's going to be different from every exact company. But so when you're just getting started, your first step, Lynda, is what? You start with an email like this, of course, right?
So you start with an email, and if we've gotten to the point having the conversation, yes, they're interested, they want us to maybe look at their file. We do a file review, we charge for it. So the first step is, getting in touch with them, getting them to understand, just talking about migration. By the time they get to me, usually they've already somewhat made up their mind. So it's my job to get them to finish and make their mind up and just finally make the decision on, this is the product I want. So I really sell that piece of it. Then once we get to that point and they've agreed to the review, then we go from, this is when the change starts happening thank you for signing up. Here's the process. And then we start with get a brand new QuickBooks Online file. So, and we just basically taking them through, because we've done this so many times, it's taking them through the process so they have the awareness. Because even in the file review, when we do a file review, we give them what it's going to take to get their file boarded into this process, and then exactly what the timeline will be. So they're aware before they sign the contract that it's going to take 2 months or 3 months, depending on their firm, and all the steps that are involved. So they have an understanding. So we don't want them to be surprised by anything. That's the key. We want to have a really smooth experience with the client, which, like Mariette was saying, we want that, or you might have been saying, we try to take it from the client's perspective, because we've done it so many times. We know where the questions come from. So it evolves too. I mean, we were just talking about that in the last meeting I was in. It evolves. We've changed our contract. It's like a living document point, because we change it a lot to make it better so that if there's any holes, you want to plug them.
So as I'm going through, I'm just kind of leaving some of the slides up real quick because they're just part of the different emails that are in the chain you've created. So people can kind of get a perspective of it, but we're going to actually jump into the program a bit more in just a second, because I also wanted to talk more about how do you make this a little bit more efficient to do this, and how do you make it look appropriate as well? Because for me, one of the biggest things that held me back from doing this for the longest time was my OCD of making sure it always looked perfect and pretty, the presentation going out to clients. So
and that 17 hats does make you look, it looks really good. And then there's fields, so you get the fields in there, and then also, go ahead.
So what I'm going to do here is let's actually switch over to.
Hey, while you're doing that, Matt, I want to just pull a few things out that I think is really important, especially for everyone that's watching. I think number one, I think it's important for y'all to know that you don't even need to use a workflow app at all at first. Something that we were sharing yesterday in the boot camp when we're talking about client onboarding is that this is really about documentation. The documentation of the steps. Now, what do you need to do that? Well, old school, paper and pen. I mean, hello, document the steps. Next thing, what do you want to do to become more effective in that process? Put it in some type of electronic format, so a Google Doc, right? Now you're literally typing it into a doc that you can collaborate with a team member that you know it's going to be saved for later in your Google Drive in a safe place. Then what do you do from there? Then once you're leveling up, and I consider that leveling up, you went from paper to an electronic document. Now you're going to do a little bit of research on what apps are out there that are going to allow you to optimize the process. You can use 17 hats, which we're going to go ahead and share with you right now because we agreed that we all three use it, so it makes sense. But you can just use an Excel spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet. You can use an actual project management tool like Asana or Trello or many out there. I don't want to just throw them out there, but one that I want you all to know, because many of you are also, QuickBooks Pro Advisor, Intuit accountants. QuickBooks Online Accountant Dashboard has something called Work. And in Work, you can pretty much just literally grab this spreadsheet that or these steps that we're showing you, whether it was in a spreadsheet, but we're going to show you in 17 hats, and you can literally create an onboarding template there. So I just don't want you all to get stuck in that next process, because that's when many people get stuck. Oh, but I don't know where to put it. Well, I just gave you like 5 options, and like 4 of them were free.
Yeah, Asana is free too, besides the Work one. And there's a lot, Trello's free. I mean, there's a lot of apps out there. We just and 17 hats, honestly, I bought that so many years ago. It's really inexpensive too, compared to there's really, really good ones out there that are really expensive too. And maybe I'll graduate and level up to those someday, but this works for me right now. And I've been using it for many years.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I like that you talked about, Mariette, is you suggested it's easy to get started using just a Word document, whatever, right? I still, to this day, most of the time will design things up using a Word document first. And then you can use different online websites like Word to HTML, and you can copy the document from Word, paste it in, and it will then give you the HTML. So you don't have to be a super fancy nerd that knows how to do that stuff to get the proper look. And what I mean by that is, the reason I was showing these images before, if you want certain things to be bolded, or if you want to try to have a numbered list, it can be really frustrating trying to do that in a new program. And if you don't have to do that as much, where you can copy, paste it, and then stick it into a certain format, we'll show you in a bit, that will actually help you just get the pieces put in so you can start off. Maybe to get started because you're working with a client and you like a way you worded an email as a template, right? and you save that. And what is Seth called? A swipe file, I think is the terminology nowadays.
Yes, swipe file.
So like Chris, I know you're like me, that you're pretty particular about what you like to deliver, right? You want to make sure stuff looks good, and the formatting of it's pretty nice. Have you ever used stuff like this Word to HTML for doing websites and playing around with things?
Actually, that'd be a good Allison question, but we definitely, even with our resellers, they use HTML capabilities. I mean, I use a lot of templatizing. I'm not necessarily an HTML guy, but like what you guys talked about, when I have a format that just works for any sort of communication, I try to hold on to it and use it for other applications. So, yeah, so that answers your question.
So if we jump into 17 hats, the basic concept is, again, with this one, you happen to have what you can do is like a workflow. And a workflow is when, I'll go to me as a lead, if you bring somebody on, or if they go to your website, they fill out a form, it can simply be pulled in and start automatically a specific workflow that starts a chain of events, basically, okay? And from that, if you were to come in, you'll see it has every single thing is kind of listed one at a time. Now, the thing is, to do this, we have to create this content. And this is where it comes, we want to take a look at what does this look like for our client? When they're receiving this stuff, what does it appear to, what does it appear like, basically? Most of the programs I've ever used that are all like these, they all have some kind of template area that you can go into. I'm going to go up to my gear icon at the top here, and I can go to my different like documents and emails because they're templates here. And as we look at this, we'll pull up one of these. You'll see we can put in basic formatting, as well as usually they have variables. So I'm doing a universal email that I put in a token to put the first person's name in. And part of what we were talking about before is the structure of how it looks. And this, if you don't know better, looks really, really scary, right? Because you're like, okay, what's div class and this and that and here and there. Well, the way that you play with this part of it and that layout is how you would get the nice, clean look. Now, the beautiful thing about this also is I can't tell you how many of these different programs I started with and tried to use to find out I didn't like certain features, but I was able to extract it out of there and put it into a new system as I kept chasing the best way for onboarding and the look of it. For me, I want video. I want like little video snippets in my emails going out to people so they could quickly watch it and understand what they have to do in that one quick little step, right?
Can I stop you right there, Matthew?
Sure.
Just because I was with you on the wanting to throw in videos and being interactive, I've used this for my tax practice for over 10 years, where I have a whole email sequence. I actually even am in the 17 Hats marketplace. I was the #1 first person ever in there, proud to say it. And so you could actually get my tax preparation templates. Mm-hmm. But I was like you. I'm all about, here's where you go. This is how you do it. So I struggled with some of these apps that didn't allow you to input a video, but Missy over there taught me about a really cool app online where you can make an awesome video and drop a link, which honestly is the same experience. Lynda, do you want to share?
I used Loom, which I hate to tell you where I found out about Use Loom from. That guy over there. So now we've gone full circle, but yeah, use Loom.
It's a heart.
I use it, and a great tip for anybody who's listening is I use it when I go through a file to show people in their file what's wrong with their file, and it's an effective tool when you're giving an estimate, and you, instead of writing out every single thing, yeah, there you go. Instead of writing out every single thing that it's wrong with their file, take them visually, do a visual story to them, and I guarantee you they'll hire you because they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that much was wrong with my file. And you're showing them, they're not reading it. People have a hard time conceptualizing what they're reading in the words because we do it, we live in this, but they don't really see it or get it until you put it in a video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you guys saw, what I just did, it's a little widget at the top here, and I'm literally recording my screen with a little bubble on me. And because I'm playing through the computer sound, everybody else should be on it as well. But I can go blah, 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 client, blah, 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 client, blah, 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 blah. And then once I'm done with that, I can come up and basically say, I'm good, I'm done, and it's going to give us a video that I actually love using this also in Facebook to give answers to people, but you'll end up having
conceptualizing what they're reading in the words.
Oh my God, that woman sounds so smart.
Yeah, so as you guys saw, what I just did, it's a little widget at the top here, and I'm literally recording my screen and playing through the flow. But I can go blah, 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 client, blah, blah, blah.
Oh God.
Blah, blah, blah. And then, so the point with that is now I could download it and I can like save that for something else if I wanted to create my little videos for these, or I can copy the link and send it over to them. It becomes a really powerful tool that you can start adding this in little bits into your onboarding to make the experience more interactive. And if you start to think about when you're doing a video of that nature, make sure when you're going client blah, 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 you're doing it where it's somewhat it is generic yet feels like it's directly to that person, because then you can reuse that video over and over and over again.
As long as you're in a demo file. You don't want to be reusing something that if you're in somebody's QuickBooks file.
Correct.
Right.
point.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I have a demo file that's specific to law, and I will do exactly that and save them because, I onboard these people, and then, we end up keeping the client and going on, and they stay with us for support. I've got the channel set up, and I keep like a bounce check, for example. How do I handle a bounce check with Lean Law and QuickBooks? I just go in and I pull the bounce check one, put it in there, and I don't have to take the time. So it's about saving our time too.
So
I want to ask Chris something real quick, because Chris, do you use things like that? Like, I'm just curious, since, I don't know, I feel like when you're at that next level, like Matt, using that HTML, and then you're a developer, do you use fun tools like that when you're working with your clients?
It's embarrassing to say I really should, but I really don't, because I'm loving all of what you're presenting, and I think that's a great idea because I am a video guy too. So those are all fantastic ideas. So there are people here that use a lot more technology than this guy in this place, but I'm not one of them. So, but I'm just like I said before, I'm a process guy, and I'm kind of an old dog. So these applications are things I should be implementing into my daily processes. So I'm taking old school concepts, and I haven't quite reached to where you guys are. So
you should though, because I'm just thinking, like, I know you send, I'm just giving Chris's example. So, because we're all really doing different things here. Chris sends like a monthly email to a lot of people that are like, that are affiliates or somehow connected with him. And like, they're right. Oh, okay, I'm Chris. Here it is, blah, blah, blah. Imagine if it was like, hey, it's Chris. And I just wanted to let you know that we have our webinar here and our affiliate meeting is on this day, but it was you. Like, I know you. Like, I personally do know you as well. Honestly, I probably would be more excited about that email. Just FYI.
No, I totally agree. I mean, again, it's a little embarrassing for me to say that I should be using this level of technology. I just haven't, but I definitely would like to implement it. So
okay, I'm gonna keep you accountable on that. I'm gonna be looking out for that email with your video.
Oh crap! Now I really got to do it too.
It's on video being recorded.
That's one of the things we always try to cover in our wonderful group, right, QB Community Live, because I'm a total tech dork and just like sharing when we find cool little things, of course. So now, the next area I was going to show was going to be actually like quotes and contracts, and 17 Hats happens to do a great job. And I switched over to actually one of ours on purpose because I want to show something that we created that truly it took a long time because of trying to get just the look to be right. And this is, again, some OCD is a good thing to have an accountant. Too much is not a good thing to have an accountant. I think I'm probably borderline over, but it's okay.
It's fun with you though.
It's so with what we're looking at the moment, over the scope of many years, we started to build out what should be part of a bookkeeping package or not. What things will we add in or not? And we always wanted to have it set up to where if we've got somebody that we're talking to, maybe we need to be able to figure out, are they doing a monthly update? Are they doing a weekly update for bookkeeping? Do they want to add on payroll as well? And how does this stuff look? Because if we don't try to take the time to figure out like the dots and then the indents, it just doesn't flow as nicely when you send it over to somebody. What I happen to like about this program is it gives us the ability, we can kind of finesse it a little bit and have, well, we can choose one for one option and then others select other parts. I'm going to actually go and act as if I'm going to send myself a quote.
Did you do the formatting for this in your HTML Word thing?
I did.
Because it's hard to line this up right in 17 hats. I will have to say that. I get into 17 hats and then I do the live view and I'm like, crap, it doesn't look like that in the form, but when you look at it up in the live view, it's too close. You have to add extra spaces, and this looks really good. And I know how hard that is to line up like that in 17.
Yeah, I mean, there is no super great fast way. You just have to dedicate a little bit of time to try to get it to look right, and it's going back and forth until it looks the right way. But what I liked about the way this one's set up is we can literally send this out. Now that I've spent the time and got this set up, we can easily take it and send it out. I can click a button for which one I want. Oh, and hey, we want to add on payroll. Perfect. And how many employees do we have? And it's kind of like a build your own quote kind of system that the person can kind of evaluate and figure out what it would look like. And then when I either go live, this is what the client would have actually seen when they received the email. They can choose these things, right? The aesthetics of this, it looks nice. It's easier to read because when we have big paragraphs of such, nobody wants to read it, right? I mean, that's why video is so popular nowadays. So you want to take a look and see, how is this stuff going to present itself? Is it going to be laid out nicely? Like I can actually see right now, I made a boo-boo on this one. That's my OCD in me. But by having it laid out, it makes it easier for people to understand what they're grabbing from the details or from that information, and then understanding how you can send it out like this. When a person receives this email and it's giving them an introduction, says, hey, please select the pieces you want, and then at the bottom they can sign it, it then gets pulled back to us automatic. We've now taken a portion of this and just automated parts of it. And then from that, once you decide contract, you start into this loop of emails that Lynda has where you're touching base with them like, hey, we're going to get you set up with your QuickBooks today. Sends off. And most of the stuff you don't even have to touch. So they think that you're actually engaged the entire time with it, but you're not having to do every single push of the button, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that plus if you look at the workflow, what we have set up, I try to think in my head, and this might be helpful to people, is you're starting to set the workflow up. What if I went to fly back to Florida and I don't make it? Somebody else can sit and see all the steps. I know it's a gruesome thing to think about, but all the steps are there. How about if I'm not doing this job anymore and I have to hand it off to an admin because I'm so busy selling that I don't have time to do all these things? Now I can have somebody, now it's all laid out. So all the pieces are there. So they know, oh, I got to order the QuickBooks file. Oh, we need to send, like I've got the training in there. That giving them training on the product, and it's all set up with videos and it's all added in the links.
Yeah.
That's there so that they can see, they can start to practice and learn QuickBooks. So by the time we get to the part of getting the data in, they've got something to work on that it doesn't involve me, that they're kind of self-practicing. So then we do get to the training, we can get more into the deep, the weeds, the deep parts of QuickBooks that are, they can learn the basics basically. And it also buys me a week.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm looking for. Because everybody who hires you, they may take 3 months to decide on you. And then when they hire you, they really want you to start next week. I've yet to find that client that doesn't like, you took 3 months to get back to me and now you want me to start next week. Like I've been waiting for you to, but it's true. So then I'm like, when I say I can start next week, they are so happy. And I'm really not starting next week. I'm really starting 2 or 3 weeks down the road, but we've set it up so that it looks like we're doing something the whole way. Like we're creating a new chart of accounts because most of them, chart of accounts gets kind of crazy and wiry. We start a new chart of accounts and we help them. We have our own, we take theirs, we blend them together, and then we create one for them, specialized for them. And that takes time. That time buys me more time down the road, which is nice.
I love that. I have a couple questions for you, Matt, based on you closed it. But the first thing was when you saw that little boo-boo, right?
Yep.
Like at that moment, what would you do? Would you go back to your HTML document and then copy that and bring it back? Because I mean, that's also something important to know. Like if you get stuck and you see that, how to save, what's like your time saver? What do you actually do? I'm curious.
So the first thing I do, and I may have hit it just a little bit, but the first thing I do is I go, damn it.
You know, he's very OCD. He's, like he said a little, no, he's a lot.
What I would do is I'd have to go back, and this program again specifically has templates. You can create all of your own templates however you want. What I've been doing is there were a lot of different templates to start off with, and there are some that you can actually buy from the marketplace to try to help you out, and then other good friends can share them with you as well. I started to go in, modify them, and I put like PPS in front of them so I know which ones are mine that I was doing stuff. When I was doing the quotes, what I would do is I would literally come back into here and I would edit it. I would come into this, go click on it and go edit. And I would look through and see where the issue was. And I'd have to edit that specific item. So it was right here. So on this, I'd come back in, and actually, Lynda, to answer your question from before, this one I actually had to manually do these to adjust it in. So I saw it here, I'd hit enter, and I know because I've done this, if I space in enough time, it's gonna pop it over just right.
Yes. But it is hard to play around with that sometimes. And you look at it, it's like, doesn't look like it on this screen, but then when you go on the live, always use the live view if you're using 17 hats, because sometimes what it looks like here, you don't want to see it after you've sent it to the client already.
Oh yeah, so great point. I'll save this. One of the most important things to do right away is create a fake persona of yourself. And you should be testing this stuff to yourself all the time. That's why I can go, Matthew test, whatever I need to do. Now that I've actually, hold on a second, because I don't think I saved the whole thing. I fixed that one item, but actually, if we really want to get real detailed about it, what is happening here is I added items onto a quote, which became a template. Mm-hmm. So I fixed the language on this one, and I'll save that. But really, what would happen is I would think I'm all good to go, but I need to actually go to my product and service, find that specific one, right? And then change that one, which I should have paid attention. I think it was this one. So I'd have to come into here because they're pieces that build on top of each other, basically. Yeah, so see here, because this is the item, I'd have to come back here, fix this, and I wasted so many hours until I figured this out. I gotta tell you. Now if I save it, then I build the next piece up from it. So now I need to create a new contract because the new template has it, but it doesn't update the old templates you already created, right?
So there's two things you said I want to make sure that they don't miss, because you just literally gave pure gold, okay?
Okay.
And these are the things like that people are watching. They really need to grab on the things that are like, we just saved you probably hours, maybe even weeks. The first one you just said was like, what did that also touch? So it touched one thing, and then he realized, oh, it touched another thing and another thing. Do not stop right there and go away. Like, go back and fix all of that, because, it's just going to that problem's going to keep on going. You have to just take the moment and say, you know what, I found it. Even if I maybe had something carved out for the next 30 minutes, as long as it's not a client meeting, I'm moving that over and I'm finishing exactly what I just found to save myself that later on. Like, that was so important what he just said. That's why he's actually doing it now, because he's like, probably, I don't want to forget, right? So that was huge. The other thing I wanted to point out, actually, and I'm really curious if, Lynda, you do it, because I do it too, and I'm always fascinated that we a lot of times don't talk exactly about what we do, but then I see so many similarities, is if you go back to your templates, like your actual, to the list, if you all notice, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I always pay attention to what other people do. He has them all with 3 digits in the front, either their letters or maybe numbers. Now that is so critical to, I love what Chris said. I don't know if it's the word templatizing. Is that what you said? Templatizing?
Templatizing.
Templatizing. Oh, that's a really cool word. I just would be scared to use it because I don't know if it's correct. But, so it's so true. Like, when you're going to create a template of your workflow. So going back to, like, in my example, my average tax preparation workflow had like 25 steps. I literally would put 1 would be like the intro tax email. 2 would be like, let's start getting excited. And I'd give them a little bit of new tax change law. 3, okay, guys, it's getting real now. I need your documents. 4, I don't got your documents yet. Like, hello. Like literally, I would literally put there and it would go up to 25. So that way I could even see like in the workflow where I'm at with each client. Like some clients, why am I only at 3? That's a problem. We haven't been able to move forward yet. So putting those little numbers or those digits, or in this case, one thing he said, the last thing I want to mention that he said was huge, and he just said it like really quietly, but it's a big deal. You can share templates. And so if somebody's given you their template as a gift, please put like their little initials in the front so you know like this came from somebody else. And that's really important. So there's just a lot of stuff he just mentioned. I want to make sure there's huge gold there.
And make sure you go through that anything that's shared, go through it with a fine tooth comb and make sure you take the names out, put your name in, that the template is meant to be used to give you something to launch off of, not to replace the effort that you have to put in.
Yeah.
Very important.
Our contract is like massive. I mean, we deal with working with attorneys. So I was just got like, if you saw the language on it, it's just so like, it looks like 5 attorneys wrote it, but we have to have that. Yeah. And one of the things that I did when, if I move it from Artesani bookkeeping, proper trust, so we've got them in different places, I'll take it out and throw it in Word and do edit, replace, because I want to make sure I find them all and then put it back in. But this stuff takes time, and it's time well spent, because now you're going to not have, when you start to do the processes, you're going to save time. So in the long run, it's a lot of work to set it up for yourself. Obviously, we're giving you some examples, but you want to make your own. But remember that making your own, it's going to take time to set it up. And I mean, Matthew, you did a great job when you've seen what kind of the work that I do in Artesani bookkeeping, and you took it. And, when I saw it for the first time when I was in California, I was like, holy crap, you've done a lot of work here. I mean, he's done a lot of work to make it look really beautiful. But yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of time.
Our goal was to try to make, when I first started doing this, I did it from the Parkway perspective, from the lens of our eyes. And I didn't necessarily do it from what does it look like for the client to see it. And I think one of the best examples of that are probably service contracts. Service contracts, it seems like every year that we're in business, I gain at least a page or 2 of a service contract, just because you learn more things. And that, I don't think there's a better example than that is not the greatest customer service thing to have, right? We don't necessarily want to have this 45-page. Like if you're seeing this, I mean, the numbers are still going, right? Could you imagine getting this contract for me for bookkeeping? You're going to be like, oh my gosh, like what all do I really have to read through this whole thing? It's huge. So a minor little change that can happen that I'm working on now is having a contract that maybe is a little bit more shrunk down, and the stuff that's very, very like templated that we have for everybody, putting it on our website and having it where it's always accessible that way, and referencing back to, please use the following link to see additional details. So it's not like it's a hiding it thing, but it's a better way that you don't scare people off when they're just trying to sign a contract. Other thing I always do is, because a lot of programs, when you're doing these, they have the ability for what you call variables. So by doing a contract for, this is like always been my biggest pet peeve, is we work with services, we get somebody set up, and then you've got your normal contract, but something is unique about that person's set of the work that has to be done. So the price will change, or the functionality, you need to do this per month, or so forth. So how do you make it to where you can handle that, but not get bogged down into a contract? And that happens by setting up in a program like this one, custom fields that you can then fill in. So if I was to go edit contract, you'll see I've got all these variables put into place. So it starts to fill that in automatic based off of information at a customer level that we would have. So if I come back to me and I can go, well, you'll see them on the side here, right? So a lot of extra details. And thinking them up, it is absolutely okay to take your time and you start off with just something fully written. I would say if you know you're going to have certain things you want to like replace here or there, do all this in Word. I've done every one of these in Word first, and I will bold things I want to put as variables so I can find them easy to go in and replace the little parts and start to build out the portions of it. Yes.
The other part too, don't you think the other part too, with one of the things I look at 17 Hats is the fact that you send the contract electronically. I own apartments right here in Rhode Island. I'm actually sitting in one, and the people sign their lease. It's all done electronically. We're not mailing out these big thick packets anymore, and everything's done electronically. One of my steps is an NDA. We sign an NDA with all our clients, so that's a big part of our process, but it's also, I think, in some respects, it shows a level of professionalism that I think elevates us from maybe other people, right? So I think that's another part of what we do that's in the steps and processes that we do. But 17 Hats it doesn't charge you every form, which is great. So you can get that, the lease or the contract signed that way.
You can even attach other documents and such too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention, just because I know I see a lot of people getting excited about your templates and they're like, oh, is that already there? Can I just get 70 hats and have everything appear? Well, obviously, no. There are some templates available. They have a marketplace, but I actually shared a resource in the chat and I want to mention it here. A friend of mine, her name is Alyssa Lang. We actually are working together on some projects. She's known as the Workflow Queen, and she works a lot in Asana. And she actually has a little mini course. It's called I love the name, first of all, the Mother Load of Emails and Forms. And essentially what she's done for bookkeepers and tax professionals, because she's a bookkeeper and tax professional like us, is she went ahead and put, I think 50 of her most common emails that she's written to her clients over the last few years. She's literally templatized them. And she's she's put them in templates, swipe files, and I'm not going to even attempt that ever again. So
how would you say that in Spanish?
No, I will not. So, anyways, point is that she's put them in this mini course, and she teaches you in the mini course. I know because I have it. It's really cool how you can use these emails, and I love the way she does them because honestly, she puts them in a Google Doc. And she's like, here are all the emails, but then she's like, and this is how you can grab them and just copy them into your Gmail and just send them out if you want. Or this is how you can, and then she gives you little prizes. Like she's like, but do you want to like level up? Then put a really nice signature or, really customize it for the client. Because a lot of times that's where people really start. They put them in the G doc. They put email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4. That's how I started. I always put it in a doc first, like, as Matthew said. And then if I wanted to, I literally could just use Gmail and just throw them out there and use what are called the, what are those called? They're called the templates on the bottom. You know how you can like create little email templates?
Parts and such, yeah.
Yeah, and so she shows you that. So I want you all to know, like, if you're just like, this all looks amazing, there are opportunities for you to get these templates or these, template forms and emails done for you through a course like that. The other one that's completely free, I think that one's it's less than $100. So it's super worth it. But hello, QuickBooks Intuit's community, the Marketing Hub, has tons of engagement letters in the Marketing Hub completely for free. So there you can get them for free. So I just want to give those resources.
One more life hack. You can also take resources from companies like QBox, right? If they are doing something, they give a little guide of how to do this or that, maybe during their newsletter. You could ask permission. I'm sure they'll be okay with it, but you could create a template that has that, add it in and put that into part of your workflow. And now you're actually double dipping. You're helping your great friend Chris out with it, and you're helping show your clients the different things. We did that also with ADP. So ADP has a library full of communication emails all around payroll. And the whole thing is take them and put them into your email. So we started to put those in and be able to just click and have it set up as part of a sequence.
And that's free too.
Yep, that's free as well. Part of the Accounts Connect. So, so Chris, you have resources you're going to send to everybody now, right?
Yeah, they're going to send resources to everybody now.
Do not delete the chat file because that's where we're putting all the resources.
By the way, the speaker word of today, this is Mariette's idea. And by the way, I've been looking because do not mess with my my linguistic ability. So templatizing is a freaking word, okay? The participle of templatize. So our secret word for today is templatizing.
How do you spell it?
Oh, I love it.
Now you have to go learn how to spell it first too.
I don't know the Spanish version of it, but
I'm gonna look it up
templatizing
right
is a word.
Oh, that's so great. That's the word, guys. We make
That's
it.
the
We're gonna
word of
make
the
you
day.
work for your shirt.
That's the
Okay,
word
you gotta
for
work
your
for it.
shirt. You gotta
Wow.
take a stab at spelling it. We're okay if there's some derivation, but
Oh God, I love you guys. Only we would make them go look that up and send that
No.
to their shirt.
no, you don't have to
You
look it
spell
up.
the
Just
word.
attempt it. That's okay.
It's so great. Oh, it's so great.
Templatizing
Anyways,
in
thank
Spanish.
you.
Plantilla.
Is that what it is? Don't even. I don't know. You could attempt it. I won't.
Plantilla. Plantilla.
Now, is that like Spanish from Spain? Because you're trying to put the E, and we Latinos on this side of the continent don't use E, but
It's
in
a
Spanish do.
it's a gringo on Google is what we use.
That's what it is.
So
I love it. All right. Well, we're only 10 minutes left. Do we want to close it up? Anyone want to just like wrap it up, and then we'll put
Actually,
our thoughts?
I would love to ask everybody in the crowd right now, like, if you've been doing some onboarding, what are some of the challenges you've been experiencing? Like,
Don't we have a poll for that? Actually, do we have a poll for that, Chris?
Yeah, Allison, are you there? I think she took a call, but she did
Allison,
create a
wake
poll
up.
question. What's that?
Is it Alice?
Oh.
It's there. We got it. We got it. We got the poll.
Okay, it just.
How many of you have a process for onboarding clients? We want to know. We want to hear from you. We'll just leave it on for about a minute. This was Matt's great idea, and it is because we want to know where everyone's at. I mean, we gave you a lot of, hopefully inspiration, definitely some gold, some gems to what you can do now, but don't feel bad. Like if you don't even have a process, the fact that you're here is huge. So that's awesome.
Well, I think even, one thing that was resonating with me is that it's funny, so many people will just kind of toil over, I got to do this whole thing again. And so, yeah, you're probably going to do some work when you create your templates or use something like 17 Hats, but it's so worth it. It's going to save you so much time in the future. And yes, like they said, it's a living, breathing document. So you're going to have to amend it from time to time. You're going to see nuances that change in your business, or maybe something that you just think, hey, I really need to add that. But just simply having it is going to save you so much time and make you so much more productive.
Mm-hmm.
Both with existing clients and, let's be real, for the tire kickers too. Because it's like Lynda said, like Lynda said, you have some that, you give them a quote and bam, okay, I'm ready to do it now. And so, here we go.
Topic.
Oh, look, half and half.
The thing too with 17 Hats is you can actually schedule emails. So when you start the workflow, you can start to put the timing in. And I even do it with, and I schedule them, and I actually have it go to where I review it before it goes out. And maybe that's my OCD. I don't ever let something go trigger and have it sent out. But I just did that the other day. I went through some leads that I had, and I just want to touch base. And then they usually email me back and say, I'm still thinking about it. I don't know at this point in the year, I might want to do the migration on January 1st. I'm like, well, you got to get in line. So that's the favorite date of everybody. And we actually don't start on January 1st. We start like November because we need time. So it's, you want to get that whole process going. Because I don't want to have to do 20 people on January. It would be really hard to get them all in place. So it's good to have it, to be able to follow up as well. And that you can trigger if you don't receive, if you don't receive anything from them. It's pretty cool. And you can do that with Gmail.
Only 7% of people ever follow up a second time. Only 7% of people ever do.
So that tells you that you might win the job by showing you care and that you're interested.
Yeah. One of the last tips I would give to everybody, because I know we spend so much time showing you in 17 Hats. Honestly, this has nothing to do with just specifically 17 Hats. It's whatever program it is that you're using. So my tip is, whenever you're looking at something new, you always evaluate, how can I get my data in and how do I get my data out? So the tip about the whole doing the HTML thing, that's on purpose, because I have literally probably pulled some of this stuff in and out of at least 10 different programs. And each step along the way, I've added a couple extra ones on, trying to figure out something that's going to just be perfect. But as long as I can get it out and I don't have to retype everything, I'm okay with that, because I'm not losing it then. So just keep an eye for that.
I'll leave my tip real quick, and because I think it actually piggybacks really well off of Matthew's, that, you know, this is really about starting from wherever you're starting at. And I think that poll was really powerful, by the way, to see that everyone's in, you know, a different place, but you felt it enough, as this topic enough important to you wherever you're at to show up. So that's huge. But I would just say to create the space to make this happen. Like, you literally need to take whatever you believe it's gonna get your mind ready to sit down and do this. I would never say take a couple hours. I'd probably say I'm gonna carve out a day to literally start writing things out. Maybe while I'm writing, like Matt said, maybe I've been building out some resources for my colleagues. Maybe I've gotten some things from QBox or some other places and I have them in a folder. I start opening those up and I start writing. I just start kind of writing and start seeing what that looks like. I can't do that if I have 2 client meetings and a webinar to attend to. Like, I can't do that. So, I mean, that's just me, but honestly, most of the people that I know I connect with, that's what they're missing. That's what they're missing to be able to do this, is they don't create the space. So that's my tip. Please create the space so you can really take the time, because taking the time now will literally multiply and save you time later on.
And I think too, when you said about taking the time and taking a day, I'm going to steal this one from my partner there and say that just pencil in an hour every day to do it in the morning. First thing, just do the hour. If you can't find 8 hours, it's hard if you're really getting busy. Just dedicate an hour, just like when you're doing the test, when you're trying to become a pro advisor. Take an hour, study the content. Same thing when you're trying to tackle something like this. And then in the morning, you might think you figured it out as you go through maybe 5 or 6 days. And you look at it as a whole, and you might go, wait a minute, this isn't great. And then just go back to it. But it, like you mentioned, it's a living, breathing thing. And you will probably modify it multiple times. So it's never set in stone.
If anybody gets it done right the first time, please ping me, because I'd like to take a look at it and borrow all of it.
And then you'll, you'll fix it too.
Chris,
that's awesome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's always so much fun to be on desktop time with you.
Well, thank you guys. I mean, it's always a pleasure to have all 3 of you. And again, I've been enjoying listening, and I stayed on the screen because I appreciate being a participant too, but valuable information and to see that poll where 12 people aren't doing any process. I mean, because again, even if you invest that time, that, as Lynda said, maybe an hour here, hour and there, you know how much time that's going to save you once you have any sort of close to finished product. I mean, that creates so many more opportunities for you, and both positive prospective clients and ones that just, again, are tire kickers. I mean, you can just, kind of launch a process, and it's so much more efficient. Anyway, so as you can tell, I'm a believer.
We will put a copy of, we didn't even show you the entire slide deck, but it has copies of these where you can see the language, everything else. We'll put a PDF version of that into QB Community Live. Chris, please feel free to send it out as well to everybody. But that way people can grab it and use those to kind of maybe kick off their templates if they wish. And then if you guys if this was helpful and you're interested to learn more, let us know. We are more than happy to all get together. I'll speak for them already, and Chris, we're going to pull you in too for a weekly session, QB Community Live. We can talk about some more of this stuff and more topics. So
I love it. And we got to give love, by the way. I have been checking us on Facebook Live. So we've been streaming on Facebook Live. We've had love the whole time. So many people on there. Super excited about it. So, and now they're giving me more love. Yeah, keep on giving me the love. It just, it's good. We love to be all about the love here. So, yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Chris, as always. You're all heart. That's why I love that you put a heart on your shirt. Like, that just totally is who you are and what your company is about. So I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you again very much to all 3 of you. And I do, really the personality of our company is the one to take. I love the line that Matthew had when we did his initial bio, but together we all succeed, and that's really our philosophy. I mean, we're great information people, and we've been blessed to continue growing, and people continue finding us, which tells you there's some crazy number of people still using desktop, but the reality is we're in the information business, and we love providing resources to people. We love helping them be successful. So. And you 3 are all very much, a validation of that in the way that you do your business, the way you interact with people, and that's the same personality we hope to provide in the form of QBox. So So thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today. Had a fantastic time. I personally learned a lot, and as Mariette put me on the spot, I've got to start getting a little more technical with some of the announcements that I do.
It's videos. Only videos.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you very much to you three. And as always, again, we just thank all of you for taking the time to join us this month on our desktop time. September would have actually been us in Scaling New Heights, but
Yes.
it's been an interesting year, as we all know. That's been rescheduled and moved around. And so we are going to have a September desktop time. We're actually going to pull out of hiding Mr. T.S. Srinivasan, who many of you know. He doesn't come out very often, but when we do, I want everybody to know, because he's just a good man. And so people always enjoy hearing from him. He's very intelligent, of course. So and he's going to be talking about Scambox. He's going to do a live demo of our newest product, Scambox, that integrates with QBox. And we're also going to have Carlos Jackson from Fujitsu, who they have a direct integration with Scambox already. And so
Cool.
he's going to, just like that, I tell you, it happens fast. So he's going to, so we actually have a page now on their ScanSnap site, but he's going to be talking about Fujitsu and some of their other products as well. So next month, T.S. Srinivasan, Carlos Jackson from Fujitsu. And again, thank you very much, Lynda. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Mariette.
Love you.
It's been great having you guys here. Love you guys. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll hope to see you next month. Take care.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Take care.